welcome back from your weekend. We're going to go ahead and go over our Monday's mountain math, just 1 through 5, so please make sure you have that out. And put away your pencils. Go ahead and get a red pen, please. Give you a second for that. Okay, let's go ahead and look at number 1. So we have this number here. And this number, when you read it out, is actually 2,428, and, which represents that decimal, 3,792 10,000. That's a lot of words. So please make sure that you have all of that written. Giving you just a few more seconds to make sure you have that written down. Okay, it says round to the nearest 1,000. Well, the nearest 1,000 on this is actually, nearest 100,000. Sorry. This is my fault. All right, nearest 100,000 would be 0. Yeah. Okay.
I did it too. That's why I scribbled out.
That's right. I was thinking it was the nearest 1,000 would have been 2,000, but nearest 100,000 is 0. The nearest million is also 0. This is nowhere near an actual million. And then nearest tenth, the tenths place is here at the 3. And then the number following is a 7, so that tells us to move that 3 up 1. And that ends up being 2,428 and 4/10. The nearest hundredth, same thing, we're going to look at the 3 and 7 right after the decimal. And then that 9 tells us to move the 7 up 1. So it's 2,428 and 38 hundredths. And then the last one, round to the nearest thousandth. Well, that is where the 9 is. So we're going to look at the number following it, which is a 2. And that tells us to keep that number in front of it the same. So everything would be the same, except you would leave off the 2 at the end. Okay, so 2,428 and 379 thousandths. Alright, number 2, we're comparing fractions. This is super easy because the fractions are already in the form you want them in. They have common denominators. So both of them have 8 as the denominator. So obviously the sign that would go in the middle is the less than sign, because we read it from left to right like a sentence. 3/8 is less than 5/8. Easy. Alright, so let's go to number 3. You should have seen this where it has 4 34 hundredths minus 572 thousandths. Notice that there's something missing here, and it looks funny. That's okay, just add a 0. And the work is over here. If you actually subtracted and dropped your decimal, then you should have gotten 3 and 768 thousandths. Please check your subtraction and make sure your work is on your paper. Number 4, all we were doing is adding here. But before we added, we're supposed to round to the nearest whole number. Well, they're already whole numbers, so we don't have any decimals in these. Those are commas right there. So all we do is straight add. You guys should have you've been adding since first grade, so this is not a problem. You should have gotten 362,139. Easy. Alright, and number 5, we have x divided by 2. Remember, that is a division sign. So it says evaluate the expression. What is x equal? Well, x is 40, so we're going to plug that in. And then 40 divided by 2 is 20. Easy. So if you plugged it in and look at the work here in the green, you should have that work on your paper if you don't already. So that is your mountain math for Monday. Please make sure that everything is written in and corrected. And then I want you to go ahead and put that away for me. You go ahead and put your red pens away as well. Alright, and if you can go ahead and pull out your brain pop sheet that you grabbed on the way in, okay, that sheet you're going to be answering as the brain pop video will be playing today. We're going to be learning about sales tax. You guys need to know this in order to, you really just need to know this, period, because you're going to be using this the rest of your life. So, you will be watching a video on this. Please make sure and pay attention the first time through. Answer as many questions as you can, and then I'll replay it one more time just in case you didn't get a couple. Okay? So, let me pull that up. This one? Yeah. Okay.
And one of the top ones is this one.
Oh, right here. Okay, here it is. All right, there we go. All right, so go ahead and listen.
Moby, those fries ready yet? Wow, you're really earning that $5.25 an hour. Dear Tim and Moby, why do we have taxes?
Sincerely, Bentham 18.
Well, every service that the government provides is paid for by taxes. In fact, taxes pay for a lot of things that you might take for granted. Just take a look outside. Without taxes, roads wouldn't be paved, bridges and tunnels wouldn't be built, and there wouldn't be any public buses or trains. There'd be no public schools, no police departments, no fire departments, and no military either. Every government employee, from the President of the United States to your town's garbage collectors, depends on tax money for their salary. Well, there'd probably still be French fries. Taxes are as old as society itself. Back in ancient Egypt, farmers had to give a percentage of their crops to the pharaoh. In fact, all the way up to the 19th century, you could either pay taxes in cash or as a percentage of your sheep or your grain or your fabric, basically with whatever you had. Nope, sorry, you can't do that today. Anyway, since taxes pay for so much stuff, there are lots of different tax types. Federal taxes are used by the national government to pay for things like interstate highways, national parks and monuments, and the military. The federal tax system is overseen by an organization based in Washington, D.C. called the Internal Revenue Service, or IRS. And state and local taxes pay for, well, stuff that you'd find in your state or your town, like schools, hospitals, and parks, and sometimes even sports stadiums. Well, they're collected in a lot of different ways. For example, there's sales tax. That's calculated as a percentage of the price of the things you buy. Sales tax in this state is about 6%, so when you buy a $1 hamburger, you actually have to pay $1.06 because of sales tax. Yeah, you're probably thinking of income tax. If you have a job, the government takes those taxes right out of your paycheck. Here, take a look at mine. It says that I made $200 this week, but I don't get to take home $200. This tax is specifically for Social Security, a federal program that helps retired citizens support themselves. This tax is from the state government. And this tax is for robot. Wait a minute. Nice try, sort of. Anyway, in most Western countries, income tax is progressive. That means that as you make more money, you have to pay a higher percentage of it to the government. For example, let's say you make $25,000 a year. The government might only take 10% of your earnings. But if you make $100,000, the government might take 25%. And if you make $1 million, the government might take 35%. And it's not just for individual people. Businesses and corporations have to pay taxes too. Right, and the government checks to make sure everyone is paying the right amount of taxes. Each year, every individual and corporation has to file a report to the IRS called a tax return. It's basically just a bunch of forms that indicate how much money you made that year and how much money you paid in income taxes. There are complex formulas for calculating exactly what your tax amount should have been, and sometimes people pay too much or too little. So, if you happen to have paid more than your fair share, the government pays you back after you file your tax return. But if you owe taxes, you have to pay up, or else risk getting fined or even jailed. U.S. tax returns for the previous year are due in the mail by tax day, which is usually April 15th. Alright, Moby, let's go deposit these paychecks. How dumb do you think I am? No, I guess I don't want you to answer that.
Alright guys, so we just went ahead and watched this through the first time. I'm going to give you just maybe like 60 seconds to go ahead and read through your questions. If you didn't get a chance to look at those, see if you can answer any of those. And I'm going to replay this video one more time. Okay, I'll just give you about 60 seconds. Go ahead and look through those. Alright, I'm going to replay this video one more time for those of you that may have a few more questions to answer. So I want you to make sure that those questions are starred. See what you're looking for. And then we're going to go ahead and play this one more time for you, okay?
Moby, those fries ready yet? Wow, you're really earning that $5.25 an hour. Dear Tim and Moby,
Why do we have taxes? Sincerely, Bentham 18.
well, every service that the government provides is paid for by taxes. In fact, taxes pay for a lot of things that you might take for granted. Just take a look outside. Without taxes, roads wouldn't be paved,
Bridges and tunnels wouldn't be built, and there wouldn't be any public buses or trains.
there'd be no public schools, no police departments, no fire departments.
And no military either.
Every government employee, from the President of the United States to your town's garbage collectors, depends on tax money for their salary. Well, there'd probably still be French fries. Taxes are as old as society itself. Back in ancient Egypt, farmers had to give a percentage of their crops to the pharaoh. In fact, all the way up to the 19th century, you could either pay taxes in cash or as a percentage of your sheep, or your grain, or your fabric, basically with whatever you had. Nope, sorry, you can't do that today.
Anyway,
Since taxes pay for so much stuff, there are lots of different tax types. Federal taxes are used by the national government to pay for things like interstate highways, national parks and monuments, and the military. The federal tax system is overseen by an organization based in Washington, D.C. called the Internal Revenue Service, or IRS. And state and local taxes pay for, well, stuff that you'd find in your state or your town, like schools, hospitals, and parks, and sometimes even sports stadiums. Well, they're collected in a lot of different ways. For example, there's sales tax. That's calculated as a percentage of the price of the things you buy. Sales tax in this state is about 6%, so when you buy a $1 hamburger, you actually have to pay $1.06 because of sales tax. Yeah, you're probably thinking of income tax. If you have a job, the government takes those taxes right out of your paycheck. Here, take a look at mine. It says that I made $200 this week, but I don't get to take home $200. This tax is specifically for Social Security, a federal program that helps retired citizens support themselves. This tax is from the state government.
and this tax is for robot. Wait a minute.
Nice try, sort of. Anyway, in most Western countries, income tax is progressive. That means that as you make more money, you have to pay a higher percentage of it to the government. For example, let's say you make $25,000 a year. The government might only take 10% of your earnings. But if you make $100,000, the government might take 25%. And if you make $1 million, the government might take 35%. And it's not just for individual people. Businesses and corporations have to pay taxes too. Right, and the government checks to make sure everyone is paying the right amount of taxes. Each year, every individual and corporation has to file a report to the IRS called a tax return. It's basically just a bunch of forms that indicate how much money you made that year and how much money you paid in income taxes. There are complex formulas for calculating exactly what your tax amount should have been, and sometimes people pay too much or too little. So, if you happen to have paid more than your fair share, the government pays you back after you file your tax return. But if you owe taxes, you have to pay out, or else risk getting fined or even jailed. U.S. tax returns for the previous year are due in the mail by tax day, which is usually April 15th. All right, Moby, let's go deposit these paychecks. How dumb do you think I am? No, I guess I don't want you to answer that.
Alright guys, so we should have hopefully gotten all of those answers. So I'm going to give you just a couple more minutes to go ahead and answer the rest of the questions that you might have on your paper. Alright guys, if you can go ahead and just put that to the side for right now, and we're going to grade it in just a little bit, but I want to go ahead and get started on some notes. So if you could turn to the next clean page in your journal from the front of your journal, and this should be somewhere between pages, I don't know, it's going to be, I don't really know what page it's going to be, 15, 20, somewhere in there. But remember, it's the next clean page. And I want you to go ahead and put your title. Okay, sales tax. And we're going to put the date today, which is 9/28. Okay. And then that way you can go ahead, whatever page this is on, if you can go ahead and flip to your table of contents on page 1 and fill in this title, sales tax, on the correct, or the page that correlates with your table of contents in your notes. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully everyone is back to this page. Let's go ahead and put down, what is sales tax? Okay, what is sales tax? So sales tax is a tax on goods and services purchased. Please make sure you're writing all of this down. And is a certain percentage added to the purchase price. And we'll do some examples here in a minute, but make sure that you have this definition down. And the reason that we have sales tax, like they said in Brain Pop, so that we can build bridges, roads, and different things that, you know, our city, our state may need. And so, in order to keep it running so that you can go to the store and buy something, we need to tax so that we can actually build those roads so you can get to that store. So anyway, it's kind of the circle of life here, so we got to pay our taxes. It's not fun, but it is necessary. So we have our sales tax and what that is. So next question is, well, what is the sales tax rate in Texas? So what is, you're writing this down, what is the sales tax rate in Texas? And that rate is 8.25%. And just really quickly to let you know, 8.25%, we want to make sure, because anytime we're calculating sales tax, we always want to make sure that that percentage is changed into a decimal. So in order to change this into a decimal, let me just quickly show you so that way you know we're not using 8.25, but actually we're going to move this decimal back twice. 1, 2. Okay, and we're going to have an empty hole there, and there is where we're going to put a 0. So even though it's 8.25%, that is the same as 825 10,000. So I want you to have this on your paper so that way when we're calculating it, you can look and see, hey, we already have the decimal worked out. Let's put a bubble around this and make our notes pretty so we can look at them again and study. Okay. Alright, so let's do an example. Let's try to figure out what color she is. Alright, so let's say how, or before we do our example, how do we calculate sales tax? Alright, and I think what I want to do is I may want to actually do my example on the right and my notes on the left. So here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and make a squiggle line kind of underneath this word sales. We're just going to go down a little bit. Okay? And this is how we're going to do this. Step 1. How do we calculate it? Well, we're going to change the percentage to a decimal. So we did that earlier. We took our percentage for Texas, 8.25%, and we changed it to a decimal by moving that decimal twice to the left. So pretty easy. You're just moving it twice to the left, which really what that means is you're dividing by 100. Okay? But we want to go ahead and make sure you know that much. Then, the next thing we're going to do, let's skip about 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go down to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go step 2. We're going to multiply the decimal that we got from number 1 by the total amount of money spent. Okay, and I'm going to show you what this looks like in just a second, but make sure that you have that written. And then our third step, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's do 3 here. We're going to, then you're just going to simply add your sales tax that you calculated to the total amount spent to get your total cost. Okay, so let me just put this into, we're going to come up with a problem real quick. Let's see. Let's say I want you to go over to, so hopefully you're done with writing 1, 2, and 3. So let's go over to the right of the squiggle sign, okay? And I want you to put the word example. Everybody write the word example. And actually, we can make this little line a little bit longer. Okay. So our example is going to be, let's see. Okay, so Jimmy went to GameStop. I should have capitalized that. Sorry. Capitalize GameStop. You have a pencil. Okay, so you can erase. Went to GameStop to buy a game for $59. Okay. We're going to make it easy. I know what it's really $59.99, but we're going to just say $59 to make it easy, okay? So this is a period, not a decimal. Alright, so $59. The sales tax is 6%. That's what I was thinking. The sales tax is 6%. So let's pretend we're buying this like Jimmy went to another state, okay, or he's in another state. Every state has a different sales tax. Sometimes they're the same, but sometimes they're different. Every state has different stuff like that. So Jimmy's in another state, okay, he's not in Texas. And he bought this game for $59, but the sales tax is 6%. So he's going to pay more than $59. We just need to figure out how much more. Okay, so we're going to put how much did Jimmy pay? Let me capitalize here again. Let's capitalize actually. GameStop in total. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. First step, we're going to change our percentage to a decimal. So let's write our percentage over here, 6%. We want to change that to a decimal. Well, remember, now I don't see a decimal on here, so I'm going to add one. I'm going to add one to the end. Okay, and remember, our little trick here is to move it back twice. So we're going to make it jump 1, 2, here it is. Now we've got an empty spot. Let's go ahead and put a 0 there. So our actual decimal for this percentage is 0.06. Okay, so everyone should have that. And since I have space here, I'll write 0.06 and just box it. That's my percent. So I got that done. Alright. Now, step 2. We're going to multiply this that we just got by the total amount that we're spending. Well, we're spending $59. So let's go ahead. We're going to put $59. Now, I don't need the 0.00 because there's no cents there. There's no change, but if I did have change, I could put my decimal. But in this case, I don't need it. It's the same thing if it doesn't have it or if it does. Okay, so we're going to take 59 and we're going to multiply it by 0.06. Alright, so let's do that really quickly. 9 times 6, 54. 5 times 6 is 30, plus 5 is 35. Automatic 0. 9 times 0 is 0. 5 times 0 is 0. And of course we add. So we've got 4, 5, 3. And we look up at the top, how many digits are behind a decimal? Well, there's 1 and 2. So down here, 1, 2. 2 digits are going to go behind my decimal. Okay. So, did we just figure out what the sales tax is? Yes. Here's our sales tax. It's $3.54. So not too bad. Okay. So, we got that sales tax. I'm going to write sales tax under it so you can see that. Okay. And then step 3, all we're doing is adding this sales tax to our original price that we're paying. And that's it. So we're going to go down here. Now we can add that 0.00 because now we're adding decimals. So it's kind of nice to make sure we have that right. So let's put $59 plus $3.54. And I really hope everyone is writing this because you need all of this in your notes and it will be a grade. So please make sure you are keeping up. So we dropped our decimal and we've got 0 plus 4, 0 plus 5, 9 plus 3, 1, and we have 6. Okay, so let's look over here. It says, how much did Jimmy pay GameStop in total? Well, did we get that answer? Yes, we did. It was $62.54 because that is the price of the game plus the sales tax. Now, your notes should look like my notes. And this is the exact same thing you do every time you do sales tax. One other thing we want to make sure of, that if you have progressive income tax, the people that are like millionaires and those really rich people are going to be the ones that pay the largest portion of their income taxes, because we all have to pay taxes. So your best bet is to pay your taxes all year long, and that way you probably will get money back at the end of the year. Also, very quickly, if you look at number 10 on your brain pop, so go ahead and pull your brain pop paper back out. If you look at number 10, that's actually going to ask you to calculate sales tax. So it says if sales tax is 10% and a new pair of sneakers costs $70, how much do you actually have to pay? So I want you guys to take a few minutes and just look back over your brain pop, see if there's any questions that you need to answer that you may not have gotten answered. Okay. And I'll give you about 2 minutes to do that, and then we're going to grade it. So please make sure all 10 of those questions are answered. Alright, it looks like from the talking that it looks like most of us are finished. I'm just kidding, I can't hear you. But I bet you are talking. Alright, so take about 1 more minute. Please make sure those are answered. Please be quiet while you're doing this because it is a grade. When you finish, if you're already finished, go ahead and pull out that red pen and put your pencils away. So we're going to go ahead and grade. Okay, so let's go ahead and grade this. Make sure that you have your red pen out and pencils are up. If my supply people can check, if everyone can turn to the supply person, hold up their red pen, and they can see that you do not have a pencil. Alright, let's go ahead and continue. So I'm going to go ahead, and I want to set the key down, and I want you guys to look. On number 1, let's go ahead and start grading. On number 1, it says, what is the IRS? That answer is A. It's the U.S. government agency that oversees the collection of federal taxes. So please go ahead and put a check mark or mark this incorrect and correct it, please. And IRS is, just a side note, Internal Revenue Service. Okay. Just for a trivia question someday you may have. I've seen it on How to Be a Millionaire, or Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
We're all smarter than fifth graders.
Yeah, we're all smarter. Okay, so number 2. Which of the following is an example of a service provided by the federal government? That is B as in boy, an interstate highway. Okay. Number 3, what can you infer from the fact that ancient Egyptians paid taxes in goods, not money? This answer is B as in boy. Ancient Egyptians may not have had a monetary system, so they used trade instead. So monetary system, that just means money, like dollars and cents. So they didn't have that back then, so they would trade goods and stuff. Okay. Number 4. Which of these people depends on tax money to pay his salary? That is answer D, as in dog. This is the mayor of your town. So our taxes pay his salary. Alright, number 5. Which of these is an opinion about taxes? B, as in boy, the progressive tax system is unfair to wealthy people. That's an opinion. So, it doesn't have to be true or false, but it is an opinion. Alright, number 6. Under a progressive income tax, who would pay the largest portion of her income taxes? This would be C, a millionaire. Okay, number 7. What do sales tax and income tax have in common? C. They are both calculated as percentages. They're pretty much the same thing. So, it's just a little different the way they take it from you. So.